This is Poetry, answering "Hey Miss" to the roll call in childhood's class. I'm your host, Dom Conlon, and you're listening to just one poem. In those lists where people vote for their favourite poem, the choices always go back to poetry we heard at school, or which are passed down from older generations when rote learning was a thing and often a punishment. Wandering lonely as a cloud, counting the ways I love you, odes to Grecian urns, these lists rarely feature a Carolyn Bird or a Raymond Antrobus. Occasionally, Wendy Cope's beautiful orange will be mentioned, but mostly it feels like the public have been asked how they feel about modern art. Children's poetry is perhaps a little more open to new poets, though often still overly represented by what's been anthologised or found for free on the internet. So perhaps those lists will reflect change in 50 years' time. I'd like to think that. When I'm approaching my 110th year, I'll watch a documentary where adults fondly recall poems by Kate Wakeling and James Carter, as well as by Spike Milligan and Walter de la Mare. But for that to happen, teachers and parents need to have the confidence to explore poetry as well as they do novels. But then we find we've looped back to the start, with our preferences laid down by fools in old-style hats and coats. How do we break childhood's nostalgia and wear our baseball caps back to front? Kids still do that, don't they? Librarians and booksellers play their part, but they too face the challenge of being open to the present. After all, the familiar is such a pleasant place to live in, and it's raining books out there, even poetry books. So perhaps it's best to leave the brolly at home and step outside. Splash around in random puddles. Tell yourself you do not know the taste of rain. Forget what you think you know about how it feels upon your face. Be open to the experience once again. This poem is by James Carter, and it's called Talking Hands. I've been thinking about those hands again, the ones on the walls in the caves underground, and I'm wondering whether they're warning or waving, or simply just saying, hey, we were here too. It's easy for us, thumbing our thoughts onto phones and instantly pinging them out to the world. They only had to paint, and those cold stone walls. Imagine touching one of those hands, just for an instant, greeting an ancestor lost in time with a simple high five. Let sleep be the rock face of night, and dreams be our firelight. My name is Dom Conlon, and this has been just one poem.